Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Cathy McGrath, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. And today's issue of the Neepawa Banner and Press is Friday, November 1st, 2024. And right on the front page, the new hospital may see its first patient in 2026. Pictured is a recent photo showing the progress made in this massive project's construction. This photo was shared on the evening of the presentation. There is much yet to be done, but things are taking shape. Some features that stand out at a glance are the large windows for the atrium, seen towards the center, facing the camera, and the round cement pad at the back right of the photo. That cement pad will serve as a landing pad for helicopters. By Casper Warehan, Neepawa Banner and Press. A healthy attendance was seen on the evening of October 24th for a presentation regarding the ongoing long-term project in Neepawa. Prairie Mountain Health, PMH, Representative Debbie Poole, the regional lead, and LM Architectural's Matthew Bowering, architect, were at the Roxy Theatre that evening from 5 to 6 p.m., providing an update on the construction and planning surrounding the new Neepawa Health Centre. This hospital project was first announced on December 10, 2021, and the location officially designated in 2022. Since then, construction at the nearly 40 acres on Neepawa's east side near Highway 16 and Broadway has been ongoing. As of October 21st, 2022 edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press, the completion of construction was targeted for 2025. Below are some of the many details from the October 24th, 2024 presentation and Q&A session. This summary focuses on new information or details that may otherwise be of interest to our readers. Facility acquisition. The handover of the facility is anticipated to occur in 2026, with the first patient being accepted in late 2026 or early 2027. After facility acquisition, there is an orientation and training plan which must be executed before the facility can open. This is currently expected to take 3 to 6 months, which is the reasoning for the late 2026 to early 2027 timeline. And the Neepawa Health Centre is to have multiple access points. And pictured above is a diagram provided to the Neepawa Banner and Press on October 29th, clarifying the position of the entrance to the new hospital, where they will connect to the road that is to be constructed in the future, and how they are positioned in relation to the existing roads. And this will run out to Broadway, and this runs to High Life, and this eventually will come down to Highway 16 with a traffic circle in the middle. Moving and opening. A plan for moving from the current facility to the new one will soon begin development. Currently, PMH is planning to have the move completed with 1 to 2 days once the facility and staff are in move-in ready. Operational readiness meetings are ongoing. The opening of the new Neepawa Hospital will take place in phases. The first phase is focused on having all services currently available at the existing hospital available at the new facility. The second phase would include any new services, for example, renal dialysis, as well as the expanded inpatient capacity. According to the information presented, with the layout of the facility, this means that 30 inpatient private beds would be opened in Phase 1, with the remaining 30 opening in Phase 2. The current hospital has about 35 inpatient beds. During the moving process, the public will receive notice of what services have moved, and staff will remain on site at the existing facility to redirect people as needed. An overlap of services between the two locations may be available depending on the move plan that is developed. Regarding emergency services, special considerations are being taken when it comes to moving that department. While specifics were not shared at this time, the importance of keeping these services available at all times was noted. CT scan. The question of the availability of CT scanning at the new facility, a hot topic since the project was first announced, was posed. While the verdict remains that the new hospital does not meet the criteria to include a CT scan, Poole shared that it is constantly being reevaluated. Additionally, a potential space has been identified in the event that this service is approved later on. Infection control. The facility is designed and is being constructed with infection control in mind. It was noted that some standards have changed since COVID-19. For example, this plays a role in how beds are separated from each other. Instead of a curtain, there is now a dividing wall. Telehealth. At this facility, telehealth can be done in any of the rooms at this facility. This is because the telehealth units are planned to be mobile, not fixed. Helipad. With regards to the helipad landing pad, Bowering noted that a location for this feature was selected with regards to the area's predominant wind directions and ensuring any fumes do not enter the hospital. Additionally, its primary usage would likely lean more towards ferrying severe cases out to other facilities, such as Brandon and Winnipeg, as needed, rather than bringing patients in. Power. The new hospital will be carbon-free, with the building being fully electric. Traffic. Concerns were raised regarding traffic, especially for emergency vehicles, which will need to access the facility. The entrance and road access have since been clarified as pictured above. The main access point will be constructed on the north side of Provincial Trunk Highway 16, directly across from the access to the Manitoba Hydro property, located south of PTH 16. This road will connect the hospital directly to number 16. Hamilton Street, which currently runs through the industrial park and west of Broadway Avenue, will be extended. New construction will be done on the southern periphery of the hospital property, allowing Hamilton Street to run the full east-west distance through the southwest 34, 14, 15 west. The town anticipates this new piece of road will provide a valuable internal connection to the town of Neepawa, as well as provide a safe alternative for individuals to access the hospital as opposed to entering directly from the highway. Additionally, along the east-west road, Hamilton Street, a traffic circle roundabout will be constructed and positioned centrally to the north-south road connecting to PTH 16. The entrance of the new hospital and the newly constructed section of Hamilton Street to aid in the facilitation of safe and effective flow of traffic. Regarding improvements to number 16, the town of Neepawa has also noted that they have been working with Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure to coordinate the internal connection onto PTH 16 with the provincial component of the highway alterations. These alterations will include the installation of turning lanes to facilitate safe access to the new hospital. The hospital itself will also have 2 access roads, one staff and one public. And for those wishing to review the full in-depth presentation, a program has been recorded and will be available on NACTV. And 2 more pictures on the left, another view of the hospital's construction progress. This shows the hospital at a different angle in which some landscaping features can be seen towards the bottom. And on the right, the artist's rendering shows how the individual bedrooms may look at the new hospital once it is completed. There is a care staff side and a family side with seating. And the first responders to the Carberry crash honored by Owen Devereaux. Pictured, Premier Wab Canoe at center presented the Order of the Buffalo Hunt to 134 people connected to the tragic 2023 Carberry bus crash. The fire chiefs from Neepawa, Carberry, North Cypress, Langford, and Brandon, as well as the Office of the Fire Commissioner, pictured above, were on hand for the ceremony. Manitoba has paid tribute to those who answered the call on one of the province's darkest days. On Monday, October 28th, members of the Carberry, North Cypress, Langford Fire and Rescue, along with members of the departments in Neepawa and Brandon, were inducted into the Order of the Buffalo Hunt. The order honors Manitobans who have made outstanding contributions in the areas of leadership, service, and community commitment. On this day, the honor was in recognition of the first responders' efforts and bravery during the 2023 Carberry bus crash. On June 15th of last year, those emergency personnel were the first to respond to a multi-vehicle accident near Carberry. A bus carrying 25 people from the Dauphin area was headed to the Sandhills Casino near Carberry when it was struck by a semi at the Trans-Canada and No. 5 intersection. 17 people lost their lives from this tragic accident. In total, 134 people connected to the life-saving efforts were honored, along with the first responders, members of the RCMP, Stars Air Ambulance, and hospitals in Brandon, Portage la Prairie, and Winnipeg were also inducted. Premier Wab Canoe bestowed the honor during a ceremony at the legislature. We want to honor those whose valor and heroism helped to embody the best of Manitobans, said Canoe. When we think of the first responders and how they stepped up and answered the call that day, and in a moment of challenge or a moment of danger, they went towards the crisis instead of running away. The honor was accepted on behalf of the first responders by Keith Loney, Fire Chief of Carberry, North Cypress, Langford Fire and Rescue, Eve Gillis, Fire Chief of the Neepawa Volunteer Fire Department, Terry Parlow, Chief, and Kevin Garrick of Brandon Fire and Emergency Services, and Ryan Schenk and Grant Winder from the Office of the Fire Commissioner. And a note that Kilwood's Remembrance Day service details. All are welcome to attend services for Remembrance Day at Kilwood. Those wishing to attend are asked to gather at the Legion for 10:45 a.m. Service will commence at 11. Lunch will follow after the service. And now, looking back. 1924, longtime Glendale municipal servant passes, and pictured is the late Robert Dunsmore, who passed away in Neepawa on October 31st, 1924. Dunsmore was Secretary-Treasurer at the Organization of Glendale Municipality, a position he maintained after merging Glendale and Osprey into the municipality of Langford. He served for 29 years before resigning. And this is put together by Casper Waran. 125 years ago, November 1st, 1899, Arden, one of the most dastardly acts on record in this part, was perpetrated on Israel Powell's farm, 3.5 miles east of town. Sunday morning, in the burning of James W. Doughton's separator, the machine was pulled out on some fresh braking for sure safeness over Sunday. Suspicion rests on a certain party, and it is the wish of the honest people ere long the miscreant will be brought to justice. 100 years ago, November 4th, 1924. Lots of changes taking place in the near future. Sid Hunt is going on to Sam McGill's place, Ed Hunter onto the Albert Henton farm, where Sid Hunt has been for the past 5 years, and Leslie Burney going back to his old homestead. 75 years ago, 1949, Mentmore. Damage estimated unofficially at $500 was caused Wednesday morning by a fire at the farm home of Will Surrett of Mentmore. Cause of the fire was not known immediately. The claims are believed to have started in the basement of the house. Neepawa Fire Department was summoned, but neighbors had brought the fire under control before their arrival. Sparrow Ward of Neepawa, formerly a farmer in the Franklin district, will celebrate his 81st birthday on Wednesday, November 9th. Born in Meaford County, Grey, Ontario in 1868, Mr. Ward came west in 1889 and farmed in the Spring Hill and Franklin district. He married Bertha Max de Groot in 1907 at Kilwood. Mr. and Mrs. Ward retired to reside in Neepawa in 1945. Arden. The girls of Arden met at the home of Iris Stanners at 7:30 on October 26 to form a sewing club under the leadership of Mrs. S. Drysdale. Mrs. McNair is assistant leader. Officers elected for the Arden Stylish Stitchers were President Iris Stanners, Vice President Oretta Butler, Secretary Wanda Thompson, and Treasurer Mary Brown. 50 years ago, 1974, Yellowhead Manor will be ready on schedule November 15th when the first occupant will be moved in. 5 residents will be moved in each day following that until all 49 suites are filled. The contractors have nearly completed the installation of the exterior metal siding. The grounds have been landscaped, the parking lot paved, and furniture has been installed in the downstairs lounge. A piano has been purchased for the Senior Citizens Drop-In Center, which will be located on the first floor, and delivery of other furniture is expected soon. 20 years ago, November 2004. Even though the new care home remains somewhat of a mystery as to when it will be completed, the Neepawa Area Personal Care Home Fundraising Committee, headed by Mark Parrott and Brian Bailey, optimistically surges forward in anticipation of that big announcement from Manitoba Health. The most recent fundraiser, the English Pub Night, raised an additional $2,800 to add to the growing total, which has now surpassed $150,000. The target figure for the fundraising committee is $500,000. The money raised will either offset the required community portion, 10% of the total cost, or be used to provide extras in the new facility. And Right in the Center by Ken Waddell, and the winner is... I have been asked many times recently, who will win the U.S. president election? My answer is simple. I don't know. What I do know is that if Donald Trump is elected, it will be because people are sick of the stands taken by the Democrats, who are shamelessly backed by the majority of the media and the entertainment industry. That stand, if you can actually call it a stand or platform, is contrary to what the majority of people believe. I call the Democratic stand the accepted narrative. Many people are sick and tired of being told what they have to think, what they have to believe, what they have to say, what they can and can't say. Most people know that the so-called woke movement is mostly nonsense, and some of it is just destructive to individuals and to society. Even left-leaning commentaries like comedian Bill Maher have turned on the Democrats, saying the woke movement is largely nonsense. I think the breaking point for Maher came when the woke promoters said the U.S. is worse off than ever before. He quickly shot down that theory by comparing today to the U.S. slavery days, the 1950 segregation days, the levels of education compared to past eras, the average life expectancy, and the level of prosperity compared to many decades ago. Yes, there is a lot of progress that needs to be made, but to say the Americans are worse off than ever before is just plain silly. If the U.S. is such a bad place, then why are people willing to risk dying to get into the country? The left wing, or the Democrats, could easily lose a very winnable election because they are so cut out of touch with the beliefs, desires, and needs of average citizens. In addition to all the things listed above about the accepted narrative, the Democrats are out of touch on the issue of abortion. Abortion is inevitable in some circumstances. I have studied, pondered, spoken about, and actually grieved over this topic. The bottom line was accurately summed up by former Democrat U.S. President Bill Clinton, who said that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. Most people especially believe in that last part, rare. Today's Democrats are going out of their minds about abortion being necessary or a right or almost something to be sought after. They call themselves pro-choice, but they conveniently ignore the fact that abortion results in the death of a baby, and that baby does not have a choice. And when babies are little more than young children, those same Democrats are promoting how it's necessary for those children to access gender surgery. If the Democrats lose the upcoming election, it will be due to them having lost their way. They have strayed from the common sense, from their faith principles, and from reality. What about Trump? People will say he's an idiot and a huckster. Well, he's smart enough to find a way to appeal to a large number of voters. He is aware that a successful politician has to be in sync with the voters. He knows the U.S. citizens got tired of wars pretty fast in the 20th century. They were late into World War I and World War II. They got whipped pretty badly in Vietnam, Korea, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Trump knows that, and he, along with many others, believe it's better to threaten war than it is to go to war. Wyatt Earp was successful not just because he was a good gunfighter, but because his enemies believed he was a good gunfighter. He survived some battles and died of old age, peacefully at his home. It will be interesting to see if the U.S. voters accept a verbal gunslinger who is a bit of a con artist, or a person who doesn't really know how out of touch their words put them versus the majority of citizens. And disclaimer, the views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and not to be taken as being the views of the newspaper staff. And moving on to Home Buddies by Rita Friesen. I simply stood. With the change in the daylight hours, the household patterns have changed as well. Eatery, my dog, usually waited until it was walk time to step outside. She is smart enough to know that walk time will be later, preferably when the sun is shining and the temperature above 10 degrees. Now she is eager and willing to utilize the backyard as a relief center and heads right back into the warmth of the house. I no longer step out with bare feet and usually grab a light jacket before joining her outside. The sunrises have been spectacular. There's calmness in the air and quietness as the colors spread and stretch across the heavens. On some mornings, the western sky reflects the glory of the eastern sky. This one morning in particular, I simply stood. It was the calm, the quiet, and the colors that spoke to me. There is a freshness in the air I breathe. There is a reminder of the season's change and the layer of leaves covering the yard, and the affirmation of a wisdom beyond mine as I hear the call of the geese, an age-old call that does not disturb the silence, rather accentuating it. I am a child of the universe, sounds within me. My home has been busy this past month with much coming and going. A grandson, at my invitation, has moved in. Marie, a friend of more than 50 years, made her annual visit. A trip out to Alberta shortened the month, so along with the words I speak, the month sped by. I was at a kitchen window, not doing dishes, making a cup of tea. I chanced to look up and out, to really look, and again I simply stood. This time the colors filled the western sky. Out of habit, I turned to the now empty rooms and invited others to share the moment with me. Aware that I was alone, I continued to stand and absorb the magnificence of the scene before me. Now that the leaves are mostly off the trees and when there are no loaded rail cars on the siding, I can see the escarpment. The sunset was brilliant, shifting and smoothing pinks and oranges and soft purples across the horizon. I am really not great at simply standing, but all I wanted to do, was to stand and watch as darkness slowly covered the earth and the stars began to appear. Perhaps it is because Marie and I spent so much time at Park Lake watching the migrating geese and took many long walks immersed in conversation and quiet that I am more ready to be still. Perhaps it is that once again I am adjusting to the changes in life cycles. Perhaps it is because I am getting older and wiser. Perhaps hearing Desiderata read twice this month triggers it. Perhaps it is because I have an increased desire to be at rest with myself and the universe, especially with the creator of the universe. I am learning to pause and simply stand with ease. And Faithfully Yours by Neil Stroshine. Thanks for service workers. It may have been a new television series, but its theme was far from new. In November of 2003, the Discovery Channel aired the first of 3 pilot episodes of Dirty Jobs. The idea for the series came from the old saying, it's a dirty job, but someone has to do it. The show's creators wondered how many dirty jobs existed. Then they hired Mike Rowe to try his hand at some of the most difficult, strange, disgusting, and downright messy occupational tasks the show's research staff could discover. Rowe worked alongside those who did these tasks every day. Viewers got to see what the workers do to provide the services we often take for granted. Over the next 20 years, 187 episodes of Dirty Jobs were produced. They featured hundreds of people completing tasks that the rest of us might not even consider trying, and having fun doing them. I'm sure that they had to, so they desired. They could have easily extended the series for 2 or 3 more years. But viewers' tastes change, and the last episode of Dirty Jobs aired in 2023. The dirty jobs, however, are still with us. Every day in cities, towns, and rural areas throughout this province, we can see people doing some of the same dirty jobs that Mike Rowe tried for his TV show. These dedicated workers clean our streets, pick up garbage, and unplug clogged sewer lines. Some clean rural septic tanks or haul liquid manure from the farm slurry pits to fields close by. Some will go out in minus 40-degree temperatures to investigate a suspicious death, fight a house fire, or rescue passengers who have been hurt in a car crash. Others climb hydro poles to reconnect broken transmission lines and restore interrupted service. To those, we add those who work rotating shifts in healthcare, emergency services, protective services, transportation, communication, industry, and infrastructure. They, or those who work with them, are always on the alert, ready to respond when calls for help come in, ready to do all they can to save lives and protect property, and ready to stay behind if necessary to offer comfort and counsel to those who are hurting. We hope we never need to access their services, but it's nice to know that they are here when needed. I have lived in Neepawa for 27 years. In that time, I have met very few of the people to whom I referred in the previous paragraphs. I may not have seen them actively at work, but I have seen and appreciated the results of their work. So it is to them that I direct the closing words of this column. Be your willingness to take on the difficult and often dirty jobs, you enhance the quality of life in our towns and the surrounding communities. Thanks to your dedicated service, people can commute to and from work on safe roads. Students and the elderly can walk on well-maintained sidewalks. And thanks to you, we can count on reliable municipal services, water, sewer, hydro, gas, that will accommodate times of higher than normal demand. When I think of all the work you do and all the benefits I and others enjoy because of it, my emotions prevent me from putting my feelings of gratitude into words. So I offer a simple thank you to you and to all who take on the dirty jobs that keep our community beautiful, safe, and well-serviced. May God bless and protect you all. And Faith and Family by Tara Konhofen. Cherish the moments. I heard it said once that motherhood can be described like this: your heart breaking with joy. With each milestone, each new skill learned, and each new year that passes, every tooth that falls out and is replaced with an adult tooth, with each baby feature that slowly turns into a toddler's face, and then into a boy's, and then into a big floppy-haired, goofy-grinned preteen, and then the glimpses and flashes of what will become as teen and then adulthood. With every success they have, and with every moment they use to need you and don't anymore, there's a heartbreaking mix of pride that you never knew you could hold for another human being, and an equally surprising depth of sadness as another stage comes and goes. So this past week, when I went to look at the calendar to go over our weekly schedule, I found myself doing a double take, and sure enough, my fourth baby boy is almost 1. I found myself scooping him up in my arms and begging him to stay little a while longer, trying to snuggle him close while he wriggled away to get to his big brothers and play. I found myself watching him, and with every beat of my heart came an ache that was both joy and pain. I willed him to take a little bit longer. And like Mary holding Jesus, I found myself pondering these things in my heart. The memories of all 4 boys growing flashing in my mind's eye like a slideshow of the last almost 10 years of my life. And all I could think was, God, please help me cherish every moment before it is gone, and we are on no longer another stage yet again. And so as my heart aches with joy, as it is filled with the depths of both pride and sadness, I am doing my best to soak it all in. To stop the hustle and bustle and watch them move and sit down on the floor in front of them and study their faces, to enjoy them today exactly as they are for only this day, to let the aching and joy commingle in my heart, and take the time to feel the sadness when it comes to the surface just as much as I do the joy. To remember in all of this that they coexist for a reason. They twist and turn and wind through our memories and hearts as a reminder to not take this time for granted, and know that someday the pitter-patter of little feet will be long gone. The remnants of peanut butter fingerprints and dirty shoes will have faded and been washed away, and what will remain are only the faint memories of what will feel like a lifetime ago. And letter. It's not safe out there. Just as a note that this was submitted to the Banner and Press as a thumbs up, thumbs down due to the length. However, we chose to print it in our letters section in its entirety, as opposed to editing it down to the 100-word requirement. A thumbs down and a question for the beautiful Plains School Division and town of Neepawa. Why do we not have bus stops around Neepawa for town students? We recently needed to book the Hnidy transit for a few mornings due to appointments for an elderly family member, and we're told no because they are booked taking children to and from school for the entire year. Have you ever had to drive near one of the schools during the pick-up and drop-off times? I'm not talking about one of the streets directly alongside the school. It is an insane mess with traffic. And did you know parents are parked there an hour before pickup? Not to mention winter is coming, and good luck with the idle-free zones. The new entrance at the Yellowhead did not make this insanity any better. If the town knew before adding it that they would not be able to put stop signs on the road because it is actually highways, then why do it there? Have you ever participated in the drop-off and pickup? I came out of there feeling like Mr. Wheeler. Look up goofy Mr. Walker, Mr. Wheeler. My stress level is through the roof. I think it's time for some talks to happen and ideas to start coming together. This situation is not getting any better. This is not safe for the kids or drivers. By Sabrina Fred Jorgensen from Neepawa. And also a big thumbs up to everyone that bought garden produce for us to enjoy. It was all greatly appreciated. Thank you. From the Elks Manor and Judy Birch. And a thumbs up to the Royal Canadian Legion Ladies Auxiliary for supporting our charity, Cats TNR and Rescue, with a delicious roast beef fundraiser supper on October 18th. We are so grateful. Your group is an important part of this community. From Cats TNR and Rescue in Neepawa. Out of Helen's Kitchen, Royal Canadian Air Force. When the Second World War started, Britain looked to the Dominions for training of the needed air crews. They lacked the space to accommodate training and operational facilities and were exposed to enemy attack. Canada stepped up to the plate. It offered several advantages, being closest to Britain, made for easier transportation of men and equipment, had plentiful airspace, far from active fighting, had an aviation industry, and had ready access to fuel. Canada answered the call for help by establishing the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan. Across the nation, many schools were set up to teach Commonwealth aviators how to fly. In Manitoba, 24 such BCATP facilities were built in record speed and were mostly operational in less than a year. Canada was responsible for training pilots, navigators, air gunners, wireless operators, bomb aimers, and flight engineers. These training schools hosted men from New Zealand, Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, United States, and to a lesser degree, other allied countries, graduating more than 131,000 personnel. The war came soon after the Great Depression, and the financial aspects of the BCATP were a huge bonus to the communities in which they were located. For Neepawa, construction began in September of 1941, and in early 1942, things were in operation. This construction generated many jobs, and when finished, over 200 civilians were hired to help feed the men and maintain and run the facilities. Businesses like coffee shops, bowling alleys, dance arcades were booming, and the local young ladies had plenty of opportunities to attend these places of entertainment. Service in the Air Force was the first choice of many young Canadians. During the First World War, pilots were seen as the knights of the air. They did not have to crawl through the mud on a cold, wet battlefield and fight for days on end. While combat missions often put them in severe danger, those times were relatively brief, and such of their time was on their own. Particularly in England, pilots and crew had access to pubs, the company of local women, and passes to visit cities. The flip side was the casualty rates were unusually high. For every 100 airmen who joined the unit, 45 were killed, 6 were seriously wounded, 8 became prisoners of war, and 41 escaped unscathed, at least physically. In the early years of the war, Canada needed training aircraft, and the United States was producing them. Under the Neutrality Acts, USA was not at war yet. Planes could not be flown out of the United States for sale to foreign governments. So the Roosevelt administration came up with a solution. Instead, factory pilots flew them right up to the Canadian border. The grounded planes were then attached to teams of horses or tractors and crawled across the border. A Canadian customs broker was used to accept and move the aircraft across the line. He, in turn, can turn them over to whoever he wanted. Then RCAF crews flew them to their destinations. Should you get a chance, visit the Commonwealth Air Training Plan Museum in Brandon. It is the only museum in the world dedicated solely to the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan. The museum serves as a unique memorial to the men who trained and served and the ones who died for Allied victory in World War II. This Remembrance Day, may we take time to reflect the RCAF commitment and bravery of the men on the plains and on the ground. And her recipe is Cornish pasties from Great Britain, and I've had them, they're really good, but the recipe is here if you want to make them. Your Listening Ear by Delcy Martin. Micro Moments for Connection. Emotional distance is something that every person in a relationship will experience at some point. There are many reasons for emotional distance, including being in a long-term relationship, having children, busy schedules, etc. As we go on in our relations, our lives become busier with more commitments, which can get in the way of taking time to connect with your partner. Early on in a relationship, it's easier to find the time to connect because we are driven to do so in a way that we aren't as time passes. Even the most motivated of us can struggle to carve out some time for our partners, so we must focus on connecting in other, more time-efficient ways. I like to call those micro moments for connection. Micro moments of connection are those small but big impacting things that we can do throughout our days to make a connection with our partner. Micro moments can begin as soon as the sun rises. Good morning hugs and kisses are a great way to set the day out on a positive note. Don't forget the I love you as you part for the day. While at work, finding time for connecting can be especially tricky, but there are some quick tips at this point of the day. First, send a text message during the day when you are thinking about them, or if something ridiculous happened at work. Second, maybe a quick FaceTime hello at lunch break, or even take it to the next step with a lunch date. Not everyone has the capacity to text or call during the day. For these folks, might I recommend a cute note strategically placed in a lunch kit or in a wallet or a purse. Or, if you have the opportunity, a delivery of a special coffee or treat to your partner's work. Sharing appreciations with your partner is another way to connect. Telling them when they do something that you appreciate is not only great for self-esteem, but great for building emotional connection. Coming home from work is a transitional period and is often a difficult time to connect, especially in households with children. Make sure that you acknowledge your partner when you see one another after the day. At this point, you don't necessarily have to get into how your days were, unless you have the time. Cooking supper together can be another opportunity for connection. Or if you prefer cooking solo, having your partner keep you company while you cook can be a great point of connection. After supper is hopefully your relaxed time. I'm talking about after kids have gone to bed. This time provides you with many opportunities. Maybe you enjoy sitting on the couch and watching TV. How about switching it up and instead of sitting on opposite ends of the couch, you sit near one another or do this and hold hands. Maybe you sit together having a coffee and exchange stories about your day, or maybe you have a crib competition. Before sleep can be peaceful or fun time for a couple. Try to use these last moments of the day to connect with good night wishes, I love yous, and hopes for a day of connection tomorrow. And former MP Robert Sopuck passes away by the Banner staff. Robert Sopuck, a man who represented our region as its Member of Parliament for nearly a decade, has passed away at the age of 73. Sopuck was elected in the 2010 by-election and represented the Dauphin-Swan River Marquette district and later the rechristened constituency of Dauphin-Swan River Neepawa. He served the region as MP for 9 years until his retirement from politics back in 2019. But for many people across western Manitoba, Bob was known for much more than politics, as he was passionate about the protection of conservation issues with a focus on fisheries and wildlife. He dedicated his life to conservation, living his life outdoors and the public at large, said stepdaughter Marcia Street in an interview with Ian Fraze of CBC News. As news of Robert Sopuck's passing spread, many offered their condolences to the family and reflected upon their experiences with Bob. In a message shared on X, former Prime Minister Stephen Harper expressed sadness upon learning about Bob's passing. Lorene and I are saddened to learn of the passing of Bob Sopuck. Bob was a formidable colleague and member of Parliament. He championed Ukraine's sovereignty, chaired the Hunting and Angling Caucus, and worked tirelessly for the people of Western Manitoba. Bob is in our prayers this evening as we extend our heartfelt condolences to his family and loved ones. Meanwhile, our current MP Dan Mazier extended condolences to Bob's wife Caroline and his family. Mazier also shared his thoughts on Bob's legacy, stating that Bob dedicated his entire life to defending and promoting the rural way of life. He was an avid outdoorsman who was a true champion for hunters and anglers all across Canada. Bob never shied away from fighting for rural Canadians. He had a soft and caring heart for the people he represented, yet a fierce commitment to his work. I will forever be grateful for his personal support over the years and for his willingness to share his plethora of knowledge and sage advice. Canada has lost a great man. The condolences went well beyond the halls of Parliament Hill, however, as many in Western Manitoba shared their stories of Bob on several social media platforms, with many focused on his passion for the outdoors and always personable approach to people. The Banner and Press also remembers and offers its condolences to the Sopuck family at this time. Bob was a well-respected and well-liked man, and deservedly so. And a challenging year for NACTV. Local community TV station hosts its annual general meeting by Owen Devereaux for the Neepawa Banner and Press, and pictured a variety of staff, board members, volunteers, and supporters of Neepawa Access Community Television, NACTV, attended the annual general meeting held on Thursday, October 24th at Kinsman Courts in Neepawa. Neepawa Access Community Television, NACTV, held its annual general meeting on Thursday, October 24th in the dining area of Kinsman Courts 2. Just over 30 people attended the event to hear about the year that was for one of Canada's last independent access channels. A year-end budget loss. One of the first topics examined was a look at the television station's financial report. For this past year, NACTV's total revenue came in at $250,602. Expenses, however, totaled $269,522, which meant NACTV had a loss for the year of $18,920. The reasons for the overall loss is due in part to a smaller amount of royalties received from the Canadian Broadcasters' Rights Agency. Each year, NACTV gets a royalty check from the CBRA for content the local station has created. This year's amount was $31,113, which is almost $7,700 less than they had received last year. NACTV does have a surplus in the bank of $50,089, which it has used to cover the loss for the year. Going into 2025, their banked surplus now sits at $31,169. As well, NACTV is required to keep a certain amount of funds in reserves to ensure it has the money to cover bingo prize payouts. General Manager's response. As for the year-over-year loss, NACTV General Manager Ken Waddell clarified those numbers. He noted that we're still waiting on some outstanding payments that have yet to arrive and therefore cannot be factored into the year-end figures. The $18,000 loss does not include money that is coming in soon from the Local Journalism Initiative, LJI, as well as royalties. So that didn't appear in the current financial statement, stated Waddell. Having said that, the financials are very, very tight. There are circumstances beyond our control that are the reason for this, though you'd still like to be able to be in a place where those circumstances don't have this type of effect year over year. LJI report. Rain Pryor and Leeway Cabrera offered an update on NACTV's participation in the Local Journalism Initiative, LJI. The LJI is a national program to support civic journalism in underserved communities across Canada. The funding is available to add in the hiring of journalists or payment of freelance reporters. In 2024, NACTV received $97,781 from LJI. As for the long-term outlook of the partnership, Pryor confirmed that the NACTV has received notice that the LGI program has been extended for another 3 years. In relation to the programming that has been created through LGI, the funding assists with the coverage of council meetings in the RM of Rosedale and North Cypress Langford. NACTV is also exploring the potential of adding board meetings for the Beautiful Plains School Division. A need for volunteers. Another item of note discussed at the AGM was an urgent need for more volunteers. Due to fewer people assisting the television station, more and more events must be covered by per-hour employees. That significantly impacts the bottom line, as the combined salary and benefits for the 5 employees totaled $174,900 in 2024. NACTV Board President Bill Sirik said the amount of support from the community would be appreciated. We don't have volunteers for hockey games. We don't have volunteers for town hall meetings. We don't have the video submissions from people to take up the programming. So staff, in turn, have to step up. And they've done an amazing job of it. But as a result, things get just costly in the process, said Sirik. It just seems to be the general consensus right now that volunteers are just not nearly as easily acquirable. And the only thing I can think of at that point is to stress that anything that you can do to help out, by all means, just pick a time and we'll figure something out. Sirik added that people should not be intimidated by the technical aspects of helping out at a TV station. He noted the equipment has become much easier to operate. All it takes is just setting up your iPhone just to record. It doesn't have to be fancy, and we just have to have the content. And if it's something that you'd like to see build into more with, effects or with sound, with music, etc., these are things that we can teach, and it's just a matter of bringing the content and share us your vision, Sirik explained. When they think volunteering, they're thinking that they're on camera, and they don't have to be on camera. They can be behind the camera. They can be in the studio. They can be in the administration office. They can just be about in any type of position. And elections of directors. The 24-25 NACTV Board of Directors will include NACTV President Bill Sirik, Christine Belisle, Danielle Bell, Cathy McGrath, Rosalia Sandiamona, John Luigi Pido, John Drinkwater, Member at Large, and Karina Jasnik, Member at Large. And Manitoba AgX victories. And for the first time in years, it looked like Neepawa's Madison Robertson wouldn't be able to attend AgX as she is attending university. Madison's mother, Dallas, reported, "I am not sure this Manitoba AgX can be topped. Madison's schedule did not make attending possible, and so we were stumbling through the week. Shortly after JMB Duplicate was declared All Breeds Jackpot Bowl champion, we got a text from Madison that said, 'I think I have things arranged so that I can come out with a friend.' They arrived late Thursday night, and we were able to surprise Gramps in the wash rack Friday morning. It was the reset Madison needed, and after not seeing her for 2 months, we were happy to get hugs. She was blessed to receive a Manitoba Charlet Association scholarship. Then she finished off the week winning senior showmanship and assisting by ringing the junior show. This mom's heart is full. JMB Duplicate 402M, owned by JMB Charlet, Burt McDonald and Judy Hart, Brookdale, was slapped grand champion in the All Breeds Bull Jackpot show at Manitoba AgX. Judges were Randy James, Melissa McCrae, and Michael Hunter. Duplicate was also Bull Calf Championship in the Charlet show, judged by Chad Hollinger. Excuse me. JMB Manitou 401M, owned by JMB Charlet, Brookdale, was champion Charlet Heifer in the Little Lady Classic at the Manitoba AgX, and was also championship Heifer Calf in the Charlet show. Chase Eatery HTA Charlet Rivers exhibited the champion yearling female, Kay's Tanya 21L, in the Manitoba AgX Junior Show on October 26, judged by Nolan Glover. Madison Robertson, Neepawa, was selected champion in senior showmanship by Judge Amy Bonchuk of Manitoba AgX on October 26. Madison exhibited JMB Lilac 303L. And RCMP seized significant quantity of cash. RCMP seized a large sum of ill-gotten funds during a traffic stop on October 24th, submitted by the RCMP. On October 24th at 5 p.m., officers with the RCMP Roving Traffic Unit conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle located on Highway 1 near Road 84 West in the RM of North Cypress, Langford. The traffic stop led to the arrest of the driver, a 39-year-old male from Calgary, for the possession of proceeds of crime. A search of the vehicle led to the seizure of a large sum of Canadian currency. The 39-year-old male was later released from police custody for a court appearance scheduled for February 13, 2025 in Brandon, where he will face a charge of possession of proceeds of crime over $5,000. The RCMP continue to investigate. And a taste of the Philippines arrives in Neepawa. Tsibog, Eatery and Catering set to open in November by Owen Devereux. When the doors officially open in Neepawa's first full-scale Filipino restaurant, for some it will simply be a chance to once again experience a flavorful food option from home. But for Melanie Fuentes, Sherry Santos, and the rest of the ownership group of Tsibog Eatery and Catering, it is much more than that. For them, it is the culmination of a Canadian dream. On Saturday, November 2nd at 10 a.m., Tsibog will celebrate its grand opening. The restaurant is located at 337 Mountain Avenue next to S-Mart. The menu will feature a wide variety of Filipino delicacies such as pancit, mami, and go-to soups, and much more. The inspiration for this new business began when Melanie Fuentes, who told the Banner and Press that she always wanted to bring her passion for food from back home to her new home. Way back in Philippines, this is my business before we decided to try a new life here in Neepawa. But because of my passion for cooking, I'm still hoping that someday I can have a small business here in Canada. And now I do, explained Fuentes. Passion can only take you so far, however, as the hurdles of starting a business in Canada can very quickly get in the way. Fuentes noted the assistance of many people, including the support of Brian Walsh, helped her and her business partner, Sherry Santos, to navigate through the process. We never thought that starting a business here in Canada is so hard, and so thankful for the support of my husband because he knows how I love cooking. And the word of my friend Brian telling, "We can do it, we'll make it happen," that gave me strength to pursue my dream. Carindira or Eatery, Fuentes noticed. My partner, also Sherry Santos, and her parent have an eatery business also in the Philippines. I'm so thankful that Sherry believes me. I remember when I asked her to be a partner with me, she never hesitated and said yes without thinking. She likes to cook too and is excited to share her foods with our fellow Filipino. We both decided to put this business together because we know how our Filipino missed our Filipino foods. Owen De Castro also is one of our partners that loves cooking too. A special note for everyone about the menu, as Sherry Santos added that the bok choy or mami that she'll be making is from her father's recipes. It was part of her family business since they were kids, which was their only source of income. Those recipes helped them go into college and finish their studies, so those recipes will be cooked with a little something special. Tsibog Eatery and Catering officially opens on Saturday, November 2nd. Everyone is welcome to walk in and try out a little taste of the Philippines. And the Newcomers Coat Room October giveaway was a success by Casper Wareham. And pictured here are some scenes from the Newcomers Coat October giveaway period. The Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room, NNCR, had a successful October giveaway. NNCR President Liesl Milligan shared the details from the giveaway weekend held October 1st to October 5th and October 11th to October 12th, noting that it resulted in 28 coats given away. This effort was supported by 40 community volunteers who put in a total of 192 volunteer hours, and many, many warm welcomes and smiles as newcomers were welcomed into our community, Milligan enthused. New to the 2024 NNCR season, the community organization will be remaining open while it still has a coat inventory available for children ages 14 and under. While our adult coat inventory is too low to remain open at this time, we are excited to continue to provide warm winter coats for newcomer children as they arrive this winter, said Liesl. Please keep in mind that as newcomers cross your path or organization, newcomers needing a winter coat for their child in the 14 and under age range are asked to make an appointment with the NNCR service either via the form or their local social media or by reaching out to the organization via email at neepawancr@gmail.com. And a special Halloween social by Dawson Brooks. A mysterious Halloween social was held in Carberry on October 26. It was an absolute monster bash hosted by Stacey Wilcox and Dion Harder, who will be getting married on October 23rd, 2025. Carberry is known as a very lovely community, and the people are very friendly and supportive. Everybody in attendance went all out with the costumes. There were clowns, the Joker, and some silly stuff like a tape measure, but it was just so funny, the type of thing that just blows you away with how dedicated everybody was with the costumes. A truly jaw-dropping effect. Stacey and Dion said our favorite part of the social was the decorating, and decorating they did. A skeleton butler held candy cobwebs on the walls, and on the gravestones, cobwebs everywhere. It was definitely a chilling night, with jack-o'-lanterns on the front door, witches and ghouls everywhere. It's safe to say that it was a smashing hit. Everybody stayed until the very end, with smiles on their faces and nothing but positive comments. And we move on to sports. Shane Hnidy inducted into the Manitoba Hockey Hall of Fame by Ken Waddell, and pictured the Hnidy family at the induction ceremony in Winnipeg, left to right, Sean, Shane's brother, Dad and Mom, Ed and Diana, and Shane. During his tenure, both on and off the ice, Neepawa's Shane Hnidy has always been known as an ultimate team player. Whether it was on the ice at the Yellowhead Center, the TD Garden in Boston, or in the broadcast booth in Las Vegas, Shane's team-first mindset set the tone for everyone in the room. But even a team player deserves their individual honors from time to time, and Shane has finally received his as a newest member of the Manitoba Hockey Hall of Fame. On October 5th at Canada Inn's Polo Park in Winnipeg, Hnidy, along with the 4 other players, 3 builders, an official, and 1 member of the media were all inducted into the hall for 2024. Shane, who currently works for the Vegas Golden Knights as a television analyst, was able to attend the festivities with his family. Hnidy was raised at Neepawa, and his parents, Ed and Diana, are longtime Neepawa residents. His path to the Hall of Fame began right here, rising up through the ranks of the Neepawa minor hockey program. Hnidy would have had a brief stop with Neepawa natives of the Manitoba Junior Hockey League before joining the Swift Current Broncos of the Western Hockey League as a 15-year-old. The Broncos would switch the rugged Hnidy to defense, where he quickly established himself as one of the league's most reliable defenders. Traded to the Prince Albert Raiders in 1992, his exceptional play continued, and he was selected by the Buffalo Sabres in the 7th round of the 1994 NHL entry draft. After turning professional in 1996, he honed his skills in the minors for 4 years with the St. John's, Baton Rouge, Grand Rapids, and Cincinnati, before a trade to the NHL's Ottawa Senators launched his NHL career. Hnidy would play 550 games in the NHL, along with 40 more playoff matches with Ottawa, Anaheim, Atlanta, Nashville, and Boston, winning a Stanley Cup in 2011 as a member of the Bruins. He would have his day with the Stanley Cup on August 18, 2011, before officially retiring on August 31, 2011. Hnidy would return to hockey in a broadcasting role, first with the Winnipeg Jets and then with the Vegas Golden Knights. And the NACI Tigers start hockey season with a pair of home games by Owen Devereaux. This hockey season has begun for the Neepawa Area Collegiate Institute Tigers with a pair of regular season games last week at the Yellowhead Center. One of those games was NACI's home opener against the Vincent Massey Vikings on Wednesday, October 23rd. This was a rematch of last year's league final between the two clubs, which unfortunately for the hometown Tigers had the same results as last year, a Vincent Massey win. Forward Josh Romanek scored 3 times and added 1 assist to lead the Vikings to a 6-2 victory. As for Neepawa, Cohen Kalbaki and Zach Platt were the goal scorers. Austin Michalek made 47 saves in goal for NACI on the night. As for the tempo of the game itself, Neepawa jumped out to a strong start, putting up a half-dozen shots on goal before Vincent Massey could register even one. Once the Vikings started rolling, however, they never stopped, as they'd register 14 straight shots on goal, including a goal in the opening frame. The second period was more of the same, with Vincent Massey peppering 22 shots and scoring 2 more times. Neepawa could only reply with one of its own. For the last 20 minutes of play, the Vikings notched 3 more goals to NACI's 1 and closed out the evening with a 6-2 win. A strong start by the Neepawa Tigers was not enough to power them to a home win on Sunday, October 27th, as they were bested by the Dauphin Clippers 7-5. The Tigers opened things up with 3 goals in the first 13 minutes of the opening period. Hawken Kellen, Ian Foster, and Cohen Kalbaki all scored, with Kellen's coming via a power play. The Clippers replied, however, just before intermission as Ronan Mouk scored twice. In the second period, Dawson took over the game with 4 more unanswered goals. The Tigers would battle back in the last 20 minutes of play, with Wyatt Negevin and Cohen Kalbaki each adding goals. Dauphin ensured the win with one last goal with just 89 seconds left in regulation. Ronan Mouk led the way for the Clippers with 3 goals in total on the night, while Foster, 1 goal, 3 assists, and Kalbaki, 2 goals, 1 assist, would be the big contributors for Neepawa on this night. The next home game with the Tigers is scheduled for Wednesday, November 6th at 7:30 at the Yellowhead Center. And the Titans toppled the Steelers in shootout by Owen Devereaux. The Neepawa Titans bounced back from a pair of losses on the road with an impressive 2-1 win in a shootout against the Selkirk Steelers. This victory is Neepawa's 8th of the season and second against Selkirk, who remain the MJHL's top team with a 12-3-0-1 record. As for the game itself, which is played on Tuesday, October 29th at the Yellowhead Center, Caden Hegarty opened up the scoring with a short-handed goal. Hegarty made the most of his chance with a fast breakout the Tigers zone from a pass from Garrett McDonald. Hegarty would score the goal with only 5.6 seconds remaining in the first period. The second and majority of the third would remain 1-0 for Neepawa. It would be a late opportunity from Selkirk's Ronan Guevara that would tie the game and send it into overtime. After the 5 minutes of extra time solved nothing, we went into the shootout format. It wouldn't take long for things to be settled from there, as Logan Capet and Tim Chonik both scored on their chances, while goaltender Casey Chaukat stopped 2 of the 3 shooters he faced to secure the Neepawa win. After a pair of weekend losses in Steinbach and Niverville, this result at home puts Neepawa back into a winning record on the year, improving to 8-7-0-1. Next up for the Titans will be a trip north to Swan River to face the Swan Valley Stampeders, 111-2-0. The last time these 2 teams played one another, both their games went into overtime, with Neepawa able to come away with the wins. The next home action at the Yellowhead Center will be on Monday, November 11th, as the Titans will host a Remembrance Day matinee against the Niverville Nighthawks. Start time is set for 4 p.m. And the Slasher Showdown is back in Neepawa. NACI Tigers hosting annual hockey tournament. A Halloween hockey tradition is back in Neepawa with Slasher Showdown set for this weekend. This year celebrates the 25th anniversary of the tournament, which is held annually at the Yellowhead Center. The NACI Tigers open up with the 2-day event on Friday, November 1st at 9 a.m. with a game against the Crocus Plains Plainsmen. The other teams participating in the tourney include the Vincent Massey Vikings, Jean Sauve Olympians, W.C. Miller Aces, and College Bellevue Barracudas. The coaching staff for the NACI this season consists of Mike Adams, Troy Brister, and Chris Kalbaki returning behind the bench. There are also 2 new additions with Jalen Adams and Cole Krutkovich joining the staff. As for the Tigers roster, there are 8 returning players and another 8 in the brand new to the program. Everyone is invited down to the Yellowhead Center to cheer on the local high school team. NAC Tigers football season ends in Virden. In this game, October 7th in Virden, the Golden Bears face the Neepawa Tiger in a semifinal showdown for the Murray Ball Cup. Pictured, Virden running back Fola Fashola, 14, cuts down Tigers defender Austin Lewis, 64, on the way to a Golden Bears touchdown. The Rural Manitoba Football League, RMFL, is an 8-team league of high school football teams located in western Manitoba and eastern Saskatchewan. The 4 teams with the top regular season record compete for the Doug Steeves Trophy, while the next 4 teams play off the Murray Black Cup. The 2024 RMFL regular season has ended and playoffs are underway. In the championship round, Moosomin Generals beat Dauphin Clippers 26-20 in overtime, and Swan Valley Tigers defeated the Southwest Savers 55-21 to advance to the final. In the consolation round, the Park West Outlaws trapped the Neelan Spartans 28-0, and the Verdun Golden Bears faced the Neepawa Tigers in Verdun. Sunday was a cool, sunny fall day, and the Tigers brought along a large contingent of loyal fans to cheer on their team. Although both teams gave it their best, the Neepawa offense was not able to get rolling, with the Bears walking away with a convincing 77-0 win. The Golden Bears will meet the Park West Outlaws on Verdun's home turf next Sunday, November 3rd, to decide the winner of the 2024 Murray Black Cup. And give thanks by giving back. A beautiful Thanksgiving display was set up at the front of the Christ Youthland Church, and the banner says it all, "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good." An ingathering of non-perishable food items were gathered by the members for the Neepawa Food Bank, as well as for the breakfast program at the McCreary School. Items such as cereals, Cheese Whiz, jams, jellies, fruit, or yogurt. God has blessed all of us, and it's important to remember that blessing and share it at this time of year. The data citizen accounts highlight need for another MRI. Portage la Prairie Town Hall calls for an MRI in the hospital. If an MRI unit becomes a reality in Portage la Prairie, as people from the area are asking, it would be beneficial for everyone in southwest Manitoba, and possibly for Winnipeggers as well. One more MRI unit could help reduce wait times for a Brandon test, which is where most patients from Westman are referred for magnetic resonance imaging. According to statistics from the Government of Manitoba, the province has 14 MRI units. 2 of these are in Prairie Mountain Health Region, Brandon and Dauphin. Southern Health Authority has 1 unit for their populous area, and that is in Winkler. A town hall event hosted by Portage MLA Jeff Buriza was attended by over 200 people last Tuesday as part of an ongoing push to include an MRI unit in the new Portage District General Hospital. Buriza said the meeting showed that Portagers and Manitobas will continue raising their collective voice for the tens of thousands of people waiting for MRIs in our province. In 2023-24, MRI diagnostics were used 97,712 times in Manitoba. Brandon Regional Health Centre averaged 868 tests per month. According to data for August 24, there were 982 on the Brandon waiting list. An MRI scan can provide different information about the structures in the body than can be seen with an X-ray, ultrasound, or computed tomography scan. In answer to Manitoba's wait times of about 7 weeks at Brandon, 19 weeks at Winkler, and over 40 weeks for a scan at Health Sciences, some Manitoba patients head south. According to a CBC story by Arturo Chang, the Unity Medical Center in Grafton, North Dakota, just over a 2-hour drive from Winnipeg's, says it retrieves between 15 and 20 Canadian patients every month. They're just coming down because they can't get into Canadian doctors on a timely manner when they're in so much pain, said Radiology Services Supervisor Jess Tank. We can usually get them in within 2 weeks for an MRI at the latest. And let's see. We'll just note poppies for Remembrance Day. As Remembrance Day draws near, stands such as this one may be seen in the banner and press coverage area, selling poppy pins, a universal symbol of remembrance. The sales of these wins also supports your local Legion. The individual pictures were photographed at their sale location at the Neepawa Co-op food store. And the Neepawa Handyvan 50-50 winner. The winner of the Neepawa Handyvan 50-50 was declared, with the winnings being presented on October 18th. Pictured, left to right, Handyvan board member Liwei Cabrera, Christine Yonko, and Handyvan contractor Justin Chikolsky. And the Agassiz MLA Fall Report by Jody Byram. As Manitobans have returned to work and routine following their summer holidays, I too have rejoined my MLA colleagues for the fall legislative session. It will be an important several weeks at the legislature for our opposition members of the House, holding the NDP government to answer to Westman residents and all Manitobas for its dishonesty and dysfunction that concern everyone in our province. A dysfunction within the government has become apparent in allegations of toxicity and demeaning behavior displayed by Wab Canoe towards his cabinet, caucus, staff, and even public servants. Our Progressive Conservative Caucus wants the Provincial Ethics Commissioner to investigate, even though the government members are voted down our request for such a probe. My foremost concern this fall is an effort by the Premier and his government to push through pieces of controversial and harmful legislation while hiding them from public scrutiny. The NDP is including these contentious bills within omnibus budget implementation legislation, allowing them to bypass the legislative committee process and be passed into law without any input from concerned Manitobans. And there's more to that article, but I wanted to point out the Kid Scoop page this week. This week features the RCMP. There's all sorts of quizzes and background information and all sorts of things for your kid to test their knowledge of the RCMP. And I'm going to touch on, we have a special edition this week in the Banner and Press, Remembered with Pride. And it features anecdotes, letters, and comments from veterans. And this picture is from 1982 and features World War I veterans in the First and Second World War, called the Home Guard, and World War II veterans in the last rows. There's a number of names available, but they aren't all there, and they're not even sure if they're all spelled right. There's also a brief account of the Golden Streams residence by Caspar Warehan, and it was all gathered by Gwen's entry in the Women of War years. There's also In Flanders Fields. I'm sure many of you remember that poem from school by John McCrae. And there's also more information, Clan Million Man Killed in Action. And that is a story of a Clan William man from a former school teacher. It served in the Air Force. He was shot down. He's buried in Holland. His grave is looked after by the Dutch. And there's also a centerpiece, Scenes from Service at Home and Abroad, from Camp Sewell, and also Camp Huge, Canadian Mail on the Go, bags of mail, pigeon service, wounded prisoners receiving aid, nurses, trenches, horses. It is pretty impactful when you look at it to think that these people actually had to go through all of this. And there's letters to Oberon, cables and drogues, and there are excerpts from letters sent by Clinton B. from World War II. And there's a listing of the community services for Remembrance Day. Neepawa, 11 a.m. at the Yellowhead Hall on November 11th. Minnedosa will be November 11th, 10:45 at the Community Conference Center on Main Street North. Gladstone, November 11th service will be at 10:15 at the Stride Hall. Carberry will be attendees are asked to be seated by 10:45. Refreshments in the Neepawa Legion Club Room. St. Rose, November 8th at 10:30 in the gymnasium. Plumas, November 11th, 10:45 at the Community Hall. Erickson at 10:45 on November 11th at the Legion Hall. And there's also a letter from an airman to his mother. And airport memories pictured from World War II, number 26, designated number 25. It's definitely a lot of important information and feelings in this, feelings from the people that actually lived through it. And it's something that we should all try and remember through their eyes. And that concludes the reading of the Banner and Press for Friday, November 1st, 2024. I hope you enjoyed.